Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're gonna do something a little bit different and we're gonna focus more on the how-to side of my heavy fighting journey. Today's topic is gonna be helmets. I thought it was appropriate as I have to get mine padded for an upcoming event, so I figured we would go over it together. There are a few topics that are super important to understand and have a bit of knowledge in before you go and even try a helmet on, let alone put down a pretty hefty amount of money to buy your very own. The first subject that you want to be comfortable in, and this is probably one of the most important ones, is what size do you wear? You're going to want to get a measuring tape, or you could use a string and a ruler. You're going to go around your head, and now you're going to go over your brows, your eyebrows, your brow bone. Like, you can even feel where almost the most prominent part of your forehead is because that is where the helmet is going to be resting. Almost all of its weight is along this area here. So we're gonna measure that. I am right at 23 inches. 23.5 inches tend to be the most common that you're gonna see helmets listed, since it is one of the most, or the two of the most common head sizes. But don't fear if your head is much bigger or much smaller. Plenty of shops out there carry a wide range of sizes, but you just want to make sure that you are shopping for your size. Some shops will list by the size of your head, and some shops will list by the size of the helmet, because technically this helmet is a size 28, which is 5 inches larger than my head size, and that is to account for padding. When it comes to padding, I'm gonna go into a lot more detail because it is really important, but just to get an idea, the legal rules that the SCA puts out, it must be a 1/2 inch thick of closed cell foam. I am gonna show you kind of what I use in a couple different options, but that is why the helmet size tends to be so much bigger than your head size, is to give you room for that padding. The second important topic that we're gonna go over, subject that we're gonna go over, is the materials of what your helmet is made out of. I highly recommend you checking out the Marshall Handbook. There was one just put out, or updated, I should say, in 2022. But I'm just gonna kind of go over the two materials that I know the best and seem to be the most common, which would be mild steel and stainless steel. Mild steel is going to be a bit cheaper. I keep hitting this today. It's gonna fall. So you have mild steel, which is gonna be alloyed much more with carbon. Then you have stainless steel, which is gonna be alloyed more with chromium. Why is this important to us as fighters? Because we all know this isn't a science class. The biggest importance that you're gonna recognize is stainless does not rust, while mild steel does rust. You can remove the rust. There's lots of different ways and methods and materials that you can use out there. It's just a lot of time, a lot of effort, and some people even really like the rust look. I mean, I started out with a mild. I think it's a great option for new fighters because it tends to be the cheaper option. You have something like this, which I have now for 8 years, and I've never cleaned it. Like, I've never had to sand it. It's never rusted at all, and it looks brand new. So that's something to just keep in mind when you look at the material. See if it's mild or see if it's stainless. See what works for your budget, and then see just what works for you and, you know, what you have in mind for upkeep. Then you're gonna look at the gauge. For the longest time, I would get this mixed up because you would think, oh, the higher the gauge, the thicker or the better it would be. That would be incorrect. The lower the number, the thicker the metal, or by definition of gauge, how much it is going to create a dent and how much ringing noise it's gonna give when it is impacted. The lower the number, the less chance of a dent and the less chance of it giving a ringing noise. This is a hard battle because of course everyone thinks, oh, let's, go for the thickest, best kind, right? But then you are also balancing with, can it be molded into a helmet, and then the weight of the helmet. Every time somebody does pick up my helmet, they are really shocked by how heavy our helmets are. I always think they're like 20, 30 pounds, or by the end of the day, 50 pounds. I would say it's probably about like a good 10 pounds, but it definitely is a hefty helmet. Most helmets are gonna be around 14 gauge. Some will do 13. Some will do a mixture of both, where they have like a thicker metal just for the top part and a thinner for different side, you know, where you're gonna get hit less, just to kind of lighten the weight. I suggest trying on your friends, asking around, seeing the weight versus how comfortable something is, then also seeing, you know, mild versus stainless, and just ask your friends. The next subject or topic that we're gonna cover is the strapping system, how it gets strapped to your head. Now, in the handbook, SCA Legal, you must have a strapping system no matter what. Once again, check out the Marshal's handbook. I will put the link down below so you can, you know, kind of read through. It's on page 14. It's not too much, it's like a page and a half. I think it's always good to know. Most helmets will not come with a strapping system because that is a very personal decision that fighters make to find out what's the most comfortable. Once again, that's why it's great to maybe ask your friends, try a few different ones out. Myself, I use day rings. We installed these like leather Y pieces. My chin strap, which is right here, which we oiled during the first video, that just goes in and straps between it, and I just like, you know, kind of crank it when I need it tight. But like I said, there are lots of different ways to do a strapping system, so definitely look into that and try different things for sure. The final subject, which I think is super, super important, is the padding. When you get a helmet, like I said, there will not be a strapping system in it, and there will be no padding in it unless otherwise specified. Sometimes there'll be a used helmet, or sometimes, you know, somebody is putting a system in it too, or a padding system. Ask lots of questions. A lot of these helmets are going to cost you between, I would say, $500 to $1,000. That's a very wide range. Are you going to find helmets cheaper than that? Absolutely. Are you going to find helmets more expensive than that? Absolutely, easily. But to give you an idea, this will probably be one, if not the most expensive piece of armor, as it should be, because, you know, your head is very, very important. The SCA as a whole and fighters as a whole take concussions very, very, very seriously. It's something we absolutely want to prevent. So that's why, you know, helmets are constantly checked. There are very strict rules and guidelines. Like I said, you have to have a minimum of a 1/2 inch of closed cell foam in these helmets, and they have to be, you know, we want 13, 14 and then lower. Will there be helmets online that is a thinner metal? Absolutely. Those I recommend for LARPing. Do not wear a LARPing helmet to the SCA. You're not going to have a good day. Ooh, that rhymed. All right, back to padding. Okay, so this is really personal once again. Please ask around, ask your friends, go to a fighter practice, ask to look at them. I would even say try them on, but maybe try them on before practice so they're not really gross and sweaty and stinky. Be around them, right? And ask lots of questions. Even when you're working with someone to buy a helmet, ask lots of questions. Please, please, please. Usually people in that field that are like selling helmets, they understand how important it is to find the helmet that works for you. This is closed cell foam. I think this is like I would say 1/4 inch thick. This was purchased off Amazon, closed cell foam. You can look. Now this does have a sticky back. There are lots of people that will just peel these and slap them in. You can cut them and customize them. There is another thing which is like super brand new and is super popular right now among a lot of sports. I don't know, the head padding, this one's specifically for lacrosse. It's supposed to just, you know, really kind of cut down on head injuries. Now I would not use this, obviously, once again, it's not 1 inch thick. I would use this along with something, you know, maybe, you know, some closed cell, like you got to get it to that 1/2 inch thickness. My padding, I use the military ballistic padding. I think that's what it is. It's off Amazon. It's what the military use in their helmets. Like I said, Amazon, just go to Amazon. I got all this padding to check out different things on Amazon. I could put some links down below to give you an idea to look into. Maybe there are a little bit less than 1 inch, but they're definitely over the 1/2 inch requirement. What they do is they have kind of like a Velcro-y back, and then like a sweat proof material, which like we know like that doesn't ever last a practice, but that's what I use inside mine. If you can kind of see it, the pads are kind of put in a way that, you know, would be along my head. If you take anything away, any information away from this video, is what I use to put the pads in. A lot of people just use like the sticky side, or they'll use spray glue, or they'll use like a duct tape, a Gorilla Tape. All that works, all that, you know, you can use. I use Velcro, and guys, please use Velcro. It's amazing. They sell dots. This is what they look like. They sell dots on Amazon. I have the 1.5 inch Velcro dots. I'll put the link down below. And what they do is they stick, you're gonna see like the gooey side, they stick on the military, like, really well. really, really well. And then you're like, okay, great, it sticks to the padding, but does it stick to the helmet? I stuck these dots in this helmet 8 years ago. And if you could still see, they're still sticky. This one I just took out to use as an example. This is one of my like side cheek pieces. Still very much sticky. And I don't know, they're great. There's not ever any sort of like pulling force on them. So I've never had any of my helmet padding ever fall out. I fight a lot. Well, I used to fight a lot. The goal is to get back into fighting a lot. This helmet, I used to roll this thing down the hill at Penzic. Like this helmet, I did not take care of, which I mean, like, you know, but it still looks brand new. All the padding, I am replacing the padding. Maybe that is also something to cover, is how often do you replace your padding? That is once again a very personal decision. It really comes down to how often you use it, because like if you're gonna ask my knight versus me, and I'm taking a lot more headshots. At the time we were both fighting a lot when I was fighting. I probably should have replaced my helmet padding probably like, I would say every 6 months to a year. And that's when I was fighting like 3 times a week, but I didn't. I was once again not the greatest. I don't know though, like these were my old pads, right? They had a gray backing, they now have a black backing. It's the same pads, it's just different. But like these pads, they're still squishy, you know, and they still, I mean like, but I am swapping them out. Like I said, I put these suckers in 8 years ago, and they still, I mean, it looks brand new. So highly, highly recommend them. Both the padding and the Velcro, like I said, guys, like it's amazing. Like I had to just do a photo shoot this past weekend. I was like, do you want me to use my helmet? And he's like, yeah, sure, bring it, we might use it. And I was like, oh shit, okay, yeah, sure, I'll be right there, you know, and then I was ready to go. It's great, especially because like nobody wants to sit there and swap out pads when they have to like get some goo gone, or, you know, and they're like scraping it off. Like it's already a chore. Don't make it harder on yourself. So the last tip I want to share with you guys really quick is pace yourself when wearing the helmet, especially your first time, your first 2 times, your first 10 times. Your head, your shoulders, your neck, even just your mental fortitude is not used to wearing something so heavy and so enclosed on your head, in your face. The feeling of panic, the feeling of claustrophobia is very normal, is very common. My advice is don't strap into a helmet until you understand how you're gonna react. Maybe try it on when somebody else is also near you. Take your time, breathe through it. And then if you're like, oh, this is great, also too, these helmets are still very heavy, very, very heavy. Getting pinched nerves like in this area and not being able to turn your neck, nobody loves that, right? Take it easy. You know, and if somebody gives you a hard time and you only wear a helmet for 5 minutes out of practice, or you go to a practice and you only do 1 fight, take your helmet off, take a break, you know, just explain to them like, hey guys, you know, like I'm new to fighting, or I'm getting back into it, I'm just building my stamina back up. But most people understand, most people are respectful of it, especially at wars or events or Penzic during long fights. You know, you'll hear a lot of time, pop your tops, pop your caps. That means take your helmet off. Take your helmet off, let your head breathe. Once again, you're gonna have a lot of heat coming out. How I said earlier, these are why these mild helmets rust like crazy. You're gonna have a lot of heat vapor coming out. Take that helmet off, rest, you know, do that. So yeah, that's my advice, is just take it slow, you know, and listen to your body. Absolutely listen to your body. There are different strapping systems. There are different face plates. So like if you're feeling really claustrophobic around one style, you might not feel so claustrophobic on another style. Try different things. Don't give up. If you put on one helmet and you're like, oh heck no, this isn't gonna work for me, give it a chance. You know, it's definitely not something that, you know, we normally wear day to day, so your body's gonna be a little confused. And that's it that I have for the helmet sort of tutorial, how-to explanation guide. I just want to give a shout out really quick to Acer Metalworks. That is who I purchased my helmet from. I could not recommend them enough. I've had this now for 8 years. This sucker has been through hundreds of fights all around the country. My household, which is VDK, a lot of the fighters in the household use Acer helmets, so we all swear by them. If you can snag one of those, I highly recommend it. It'll probably be like a lifelong purchase, so definitely go check them out. I will also drop his link down below, but never fear too if they don't have the type you want, or out of your price range, or for whatever reason. There's lots of other great shops out there. Ask around, look around. And with this video, I hope you now know the right questions to ask when buying your next helmet. All right, I hope to see you guys next time.